I can tell you, we're going to be taking the sanctions off. Okay? I don't want him to waste his time answering that question because we're working very closely with Marco Rubio, very famous man, great Secretary of State, and with Scott Bessent, and with Pete and everybody else. We're going to be taking the sanctions off. It's time to do that. Okay? We don't want to sanction friends. It's very simple.
$5 billion stealth fighter jet. A furious Israeli Prime Minister on American TV. And a decision that could change the power dynamics from the Mediterranean to the India-Pakistan border. 7 years ago, the United States threw Turkey out of its F-35 fighter jet program. The reason was Ankara bought Russia's S-400 air defense systems. Washington called it a security risk. Sanctions followed and F-35 deliveries were stopped. Today, that policy could be reversed. US President Donald Trump now says he wants to lift the sanctions and reopen the door to F-35 sales for Turkey. The announcement has stunned allies, alarmed Israel and sparked fresh questions in India. Israeli PM Benjamin Netanyahu is not pleased. He went on TV and delivered one big message. Stop this deal. In Delhi, defense analysts are watching closely because India bought the same Russian air defense system in the deal twice the same size of Turkey's. Turkey is Pakistan's newest and closest defense partner, supplying drones and other ammunition. If Ankara secures the world's most advanced fighter jet, India will have its own concerns. So why is Washington suddenly softening on Turkey? What does this mean for Israel's air dominance? And what could this dramatic U-turn mean for India's strategic calculations? The United States may be preparing one of its biggest defense policy reversals in years. President Donald Trump has announced that his administration intends to lift sanctions imposed on Turkey under the Countering America's Adversary Through Sanctions Act, better known as caatsa. More importantly, Trump says he is prepared to consider restoring Turkey's access to the fifth-generation F-35 stealth fighter program. This is a dramatic shift, especially after removing Turkey from the F-35 program, thinking the Russian air defense systems could compromise sensitive technologies and expose classified F-35 capabilities to Moscow. Trump's latest announcement reflects changing geopolitical priorities. Turkey remains NATO's second-largest military after the United States. It controls the Bosphorus Strait. It borders Russia, Iran, Iraq, and Syria. It has become central to NATO's southern strategy. Washington also wants to rebuild ties with Ankara after years of strained relations. Trump has openly praised President Erdogan and indicated that restoring defense cooperations could strengthen NATO unity. However, legal hurdles remain. Congressional approval will almost certainly be required. The original sanctions were imposed under federal law. Any F-35 transfer will also face intense scrutiny on Capitol Hill. Now here's where this gets interesting for India. Delhi signed its own S-400 deal with Russia back in October 2018, worth $5.43 billion, more than double what Turkey paid. Unlike Turkey, India was never formally hit by caatsa sanctions. It received informal waivers instead, largely because Washington valued India as a strategic counterweight to China. If Turkey's identical S-400 purchase is no longer treated as disqualifying for F-35 access, the logic that kept India shielded starts to look less like a firm rule and more like a political convenience that could shift again under different circumstances. There's a more direct India angle too. Turkey has grown closer to Pakistan's military. During Operation Sindoor in May last year, Turkey openly backed Pakistan and Turkish cargo aircraft were spotted landing in Islamabad. Pakistan is now reportedly planning to import over thousands of Turkish drones alongside Chinese J-35 stealth jets by the end of this year. A more capable F-35 equipped Turkish Air Force strengthens exactly the kind of partner Pakistan has been leaning on. There's another dimension. Earlier, Trump had publicly offered the F-35 to India as part of broader defense relationship. Delhi has never formally accepted that proposal. India's long-term focus remains on strengthening indigenous programs like the Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft while expanding existing fighter capabilities. India has also received offer from Russia to induct the Su-57 fifth-generation fighter jets, which Moscow is ready to share with full tech transfer. With a vast defense ecosystem in Indian Air Forces being supplied by Russia, including S-400, the Sukhoi 5th Gen fighter jets may suit India strategically. But the Turkish debate, therefore, is less about whether India wants the F-35. It is about understanding how Washington makes strategic defense decisions. Those decisions increasingly appear driven by geopolitical calculations rather than fixed policy positions. Washington's growing proximity with Turkey is a bigger strategic concern for India. Ankara is part of Islamic NATO. Pakistan and Saudi Arabia plan to set up. Countries like Egypt too may join this alliance. US support to these countries will prove how Washington is planning to balance its alliances to counter Russia and its allies, secure defense and geopolitical interests in an increasingly changing equation in the Middle East and West Asia. The F-35 deal with Turkey is not done yet. This isn't even the first time Trump has suggested the F-35. He has offered it to Saudi Arabia last November, yet that deal has not moved anywhere. But the intent is clear. Washington is signaling that Russian S-400 purchase, once treated as an unforgivable offense, might not be permanent after all. For Israel, that means a more heavily armed and technologically capable Turkey as a neighbor. For India, it's a reminder that the rules underpinning its own delicate balancing act between Russia and the West were never as fixed as they looked. It is also a reminder that global defense partnerships are shaped not just by principles but by power, interests and changing strategic realities.